Something evil is lurking out there. Something to make you feel the cold breath of horror on the back of your neck. Something to chill your spine. It is stalking the stadiums, seeking out victims to satisfy its unquenchable thirst for blood. And heaven help those who gaze at the thing that rained hell on opening day. On opening day, you'll experience creeping terror when a depraved, malignant force takes possession of Sunday's heroes and transforms them into predatory fiends. Their prey are the men who wear the black and white stripes. At first, the officials are taunted. The refs try to fight back. But these beasts crave human flesh. You screamed on Halloween. You shrieked on Friday the 13th. Now prepare to gag on opening day. This motion picture contains scenes that may be too intense for young people. Deep in the valleys of the seething, sultry old Southwest, where danger dwells, an unforgettable Western adventure is born. First, there was the Magnificent Seven. Now, there is the mediocre 11. Here is a sprawling saga of itchy trigger fingers, hot lead, and a cool, silent shootist called Butch. Relive the days when peril loomed over every horizon. See savages and settlers engage in the life and death struggle that helped bring civilization to the wild and woolly frontier. Join the stampede to see the Western epic that leaves the others in the dust.
The incredible story of a haunted stadium. The Footballville Horror. It started with the wind. Sudden, mysterious, unexplained. Roaring winds that played havoc with all who entered the stadium's gates. Soon the winds died down, but then the football seemed to take on a life of its own. Whatever force possessed the ball soon had the players themselves in its evil grasp. The fans were in shock. The athletes, battered and bruised, did not have a clue. So from around the world, experts of the supernatural were summoned to the scene to study the matter. And yet still, the Footballville Horror remained. To this day, no one has ever unlocked the secret of the Footballville Horror. And those who have tried have never been heard from again.
NFL Films challenges you to solve the mystery that baffled Scotland Yard. The stomach-churning suspense begins with a phone call.
Is that our phone? Is that us? Hello, Danny?
Yes, I would like a large pizza with everything on it but anchovies. You got that? Hold the anchovies.
Dial M for Moron puts you on the lookout for the crime wave that blows the lid off the NFL. Hold on to your hats, as helmets disappear. Grab onto your socks as cleats vanish. Not even jerseys are safe in this searing drama of a half-naked city paralyzed by fear. And when the pigskin starts popping loose, so will your eyes. Whodunit? You won't know until the final fade out. And theater owners have been asked not to admit anyone during the last 15 minutes. This is the film that takes you behind today's hottest headlines. See how undercover informants provide police with the tips that lead to the biggest dragnet in FBI history. So when the phone rings, get ready for a heart-pounding motion picture experience.
NFL Films proudly presents the picture with happy feet. It's a singing, dancing, musical extravaganza. It's Top Helmet, the tap-filled, tune-filled treat that will have you leaving the theater humming songs like these.
I got a feeling Buffalo is going to the Super Bowl. This is not the last time, but Buffalo is going to the Super Bowl.
The Steelers are so great, and they play the best of all to take our Pittsburgh to the Super Bowl.
At long last, here comes a high-stepping spectacle to bring the sound of music back into your life. Isn't it time you felt good again? Isn't it time for Top Helmet?
Once upon a time, there was a magic bean that had a magic spell, and fame and glory would belong to whomever could throw it straight and handle it well. All across the land, wise men plotted and planned to see if they would be the man who could hold this bean in hand. But alas, it was such a difficult task that no solution could be found. So they dashed it and smashed it in anger on the ground. Now, far, far away in a kingdom on the coast, there was a little prince who made a mighty boast. "I'll throw that bean," he said, "and straight I'll make it go." "There's no doubt about it," said the boy named Broadway Joe. Now, to make this story short, I'll have to report that Broadway Joe was right, for in his arm was a magic charm that controlled the bean and its flight. Broadway Joe traveled far and wide and threw the bean so well that everyone gathered round him to tell him he was swell, and scores of lovely maidens attended to his wants, and a guard of honor followed him to all his usual haunts. Then from out of the ground there came a sound that shook the entire shore. It came from the tread of some men who said, "This Joe is simply a bore." From their fearsome faces smoke did spew, while their heads were as hard as an old horseshoe. They were rough and tough and worked all day in the sun. They were cranky and cruel and spoiled other people's fun. But Joe's days were filled with smiles and zest, and he turned to these villains and said with a jest, "If I happen to meet you guys someday, it'll be best for you to get out of my way." "What's that?" growled those men who were terribly gruff. "How can you say such ridiculous stuff? We'll meet you in battle and steal your bean, then use it ourselves to be nasty and mean." And And so it came to pass, in a big round castle way down in the south, that these merciless men came to take the bean and shut Joey's mouth. The castle was filled with faces familiar and faces stranger, but all of them knew that Joe was in danger. So they gathered together, put their hands on their breast, and sincerely wished him their very best. But Broadway Joe needed luck of more than one kind, because suddenly trouble came from in front and then from behind. They gave him such a knock on the crown that he forgot his bean and left it on the ground. The meanies in blue grabbed the thing and turned it over to their old wizard king. Now everyone rose and stood in alarm to see if the ancient wizard still had magic in his arm. Now, in his prime, many ages ago, he could have thrown that bean and hit a dime. But by now, his magic arm had spent its force, and when he threw the bean, it just fluttered off course. The wizard's men looked solemn and tragic, and sadly they spoke, "This bean's not magic. It's a fraud, a joke. Give it back to the kid. If it obeys his command, we'll admit defeat and crown him king of the land." But the bean was magic, and everyone knew it, and watched in amazement whenever Joe threw it. He hopped and popped and swung with a swish, and the bean obeyed his every wish. As darkness fell on this incredible day, the meanies in blue just faded away, and everyone cheered for Broadway Joe, for he had put on such a spectacular show. His beam was turned to silver, as bright as the eye could see, and Joe returned a hero to his kingdom by the sea. The end.
The National Football League has been hit recently by a wave of mysterious disappearances.
The birth of the Bucks was sort of like the birth of Rosemary's Baby. The creature was hideous, but you couldn't turn your eyes away from it. The Bucks displayed a monstrous penchant for losing, and over a 3-year span, they made NFL history by dropping 26 consecutive games. While the Bucks supplied the belly laughs, head coach John McKay provided the quips. He prowled and scowled on the sidelines like Don Rickles delivering a monologue to the stage-side tables at a Vegas nightclub.
You can't stop a pass or a run. Otherwise, we're in great shape. Hey, what's wrong with playing Mon in the game? He tackles. Huh? We got all these old pros. Nobody tackles. Gentlemen, are you going to put your big man in, or are you going to stand here? We're trying to get the ball to keep it about a week. How the hell are you going to get them out the back? Well, these guys are almost gutless. And the ones that aren't that are brainless.
We had to scramble out of there quite a lot of sacks.
Well, we didn't block them, but we made up for it by not tackling.
McKay's Bucks resembled a fraternity football team well into their third keg of beer, and their style of play resembled outtakes from Animal House.
And what we needed was Newt Rockne, and he was not here.
We will attempt to come back next Sunday in Tampa Stadium in front of our own crowd. We've now proven we can't play on the road or in front of our own crowd. So we would like to have a neutral site.
We went through 8 quarterbacks. Every time I looked up, start that guy. We had no audible system because we had the left guard was from Nova Scotia and the right guard was from, we just picked up from Philadelphia. They barely knew each other's name.
These pushovers in the pumpkin-colored jerseys suffered a lot of early knockouts. But in 1979, a fairy tale transformation occurred. The Pumpkins turned into a fleet of golden coaches and won the NFC Central Division title. The Bucks had gone from worst to first, and they've been strong contenders ever since.
Well, the reason I had a 5-year plan, I had a 5-year contract. See, I had a 6-year plan if I had a 6-year contract or a 3-year plan. And so now everybody says, how can McKay be so intelligent at 5 years? Well, that was the length of the contract. That's how intelligent I am.
While the Bucks eventually wore the look of a winner, the New Orleans Saints have consistently displayed a game face not even a mother could love. These NFL sad sacks took their first baby steps in 1968, and it looked like they would grow up in a hurry when John Gilliam, number 42, took the opening kickoff in their first game and went 94 yards for a touchdown. But while the Saints' opening number was up-tempo, they've been playing the blues ever since. The Saints often seem to be playing every quarter as if they had spent a long night in the French Quarter. And during the first 18 years of their existence, they have never had a winning season. Every year, the Saints have taken a crash course in the school of hard knocks. They're still waiting to graduate. Nearly 500 players have known the dizzying, disorienting experience of being a Saint, and some strange birds have perched in the club locker room. One creature who has survived is Gumbo, the team's mascot. Saints fans are as loyal and trusting as Gumbo. They've maintained high hopes for a team with a flair for low comedy. The Saints may have never had a good team, but they've had some great rosters. Now, I don't mean in talent, but in names. Names like Jubilee Dunbar, D'Artagnan Martin, and Guido Merkins are among those who have played for 8 different head coaches. The first coach was Hall of Fame receiver Tom Fears. Critics said he couldn't even blow his own nose. They were wrong. The New Orleans Saints have gone marching into 18 NFL campaigns, and they've never marched out as a winner. This is truly the ideal team for the city that gave birth to the Blues.
The proud foot belongs to the kicker, whose only concern when kicking is that his mates know who to block.
I got 50. I got 76.
44.
No,
Joe, you got 45?
Who's got
No,
30?
I got 45.
I got him. I got that guy.
Okay, all set.
Hey, who's got 45? I thought you had 45. I've got 57. Who's got 48? I got 48.
Oh,
I got 88.
Time out. In kicking, the center snap is crucial. And now, pay attention. The ally of every kicker is his his sure-handed holder. If something goes wrong, the kicker has some options. Pay attention, boy. There's the double trick kick, run, and kick real quick stick, or there's the popular strawberry short kick. Pay attention, boy. When it comes to kicking, we punters display an affinity for ballet with our fluid movements that sing of gracefulness. It's up to the punter to save, to save his team from bad field position.
And the Lord said, "Let there be let there be rain." And lo and behold, rain came pouring down, turning all into a quagmire, and making a real mess of things. And the player said, "Lord, we're we're pretty darn sad." And the Lord said, "Get thee some artifice. Get thee some artifice. Get thee a rug." And the players did. But when they saw what they had wrought, they said, "Lord, we're they're still pretty darn sad." So finally, the Lord said, "Get thee under the domes costing millions of dollars." And the taxpayer said, "Lord, we sure are Lord, we've sure been given a big enough place to take a bath."
Besides bad weather, fan and player alike are surrounded by constant dangers lurking in NFL stadiums. Fear of such collisions has frightened many a player. In fact, some have never been heard from again. And there are perils aplenty for halftime performers as well.
Hey! Hey! Oh boy. Hey! Oh, sinekai puro. Hey! Hey! Oh, hurts. Hey! Hey! Oh, ay, un chocona carwachi. Oh, so Hey!
other fronts, doubts begin to emerge. Players and fans confused. Headaches. Newly changed field surfaces adjusted to metric standards. Too large for present stadium confines. And so all stadiums are completely remodeled to conform to new regulations. Cost, no man can say. Players no longer measured in feet or pounds. Vendors mourn loss of foot-long hot dog. Sports writers say goodbye to hallowed cliches like 3 yards and a cloud of dust, and it's a game of inches. Referees now mark off penalties and infractions in centimeters. Confusion pervades. Players and coaches launch angry tirades. So the league calls in experts to educate the public. Now unruly fans threaten to revolt. Officials fear for their safety. The state militia armed and ready for the worst. And so jubilation sweeps through the player ranks. Pandemonium sweeps the nation. The 100-yard war is home to stay.
Delicita, hi, Mom. Number one. Presto bottega che la vita, hi, Mom. Number one. E fortunatissimo per verità, la 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 la, la 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 la. Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. Hi, Mama. Hi, Mom. Abro Figaro, bravissimo. Abro Figaro, bravissimo. Di fortuna te, fortuna non mancherà. Hi, Mom.